Hi guys, how's it going today? Hopefully you're getting out and getting some exercise too and balancing your life, doing a couple different things, making a TikTok even. Okay, so today this is the distance formula lesson, which is pretty easy. It's really pretty close to Pythagorean theorem, which is not too bad. By the way, that video launched, so you can go from there. So basically what we're doing is we're doing Pythagorean theorem on a grid. So if I wanted to know how long it was from A to B, like how long is this? I can't really count because the lines don't go perfectly diagonal through. So you can't go that way. So what you would do instead is these dotted lines represent, we could turn it into a right triangle. So if you think about it, if we go across and we say, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then AC is 8. And if we go this way, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 4. So we got 8 and 4. Those turn out to be legs of your right triangle. Okay. So basically, you're going to plug those and do the Pythagorean theorem. So today, you're always going to be looking for the hypotenuse because that's how long the length of AB is. So whatever that is squared. So you're really just using the Pythagorean theorem, dropping these in as the legs, and you're coming up with C. But in this case, C is the distance from A to B. So we're going to get 64 plus 16 equals AB squared. And then that equals 80 equals AB squared. And we're going to take the square root of 80. Okay. Now, and that'll give you the distance of AB. Now, sometimes they're going to ask for an exact answer. That means you can leave it just like that. Kind of easy. So an exact answer is when you don't put it in your calculator. Okay. Now, if someone says, give me the approximate answer, then of course you need your calculator, turn it on, square root 80, and they'll tell you what to round it off to, which is the square root of 80 is approximately 8.9. And so this is an approximate answer. So depending on what they ask for, you leave it like that, okay? All right, so that was question 1. Question 2 is pretty much the same thing. Look, count your legs. I want to know how long X to Y is, distance from here to here. So if each leg is 4, then basically what you're doing is saying 4 squared plus 4 squared equals XY squared, which is the length of what we're looking for. So 16 plus 16 equals XY squared. And then we take the square root of that and the square root of that. So it's, what is the square root of 32 basically? And again, that's the exact answer. Square root of 32 would equal XY. That's exact. And if I want to know the approximate, I'm going to throw it in my calculator, and it's going to be 5.6 units. Simple as that, okay? Now, on the next page, again, you notice that you don't see the right triangle. Well, make your own. So if I want to know how long it is, the question's saying find both the exact value and the approximate value up there in the directions. So all I do is make my own right triangles. First thing I'm going to do is connect P to Q, okay? And then I'm going to make a little right triangle. And you can draw these dashed or solid, doesn't really matter as long as you got yourself a right triangle. Just like that. There's your right angle. So again, all I got to do is count my lengths of my legs. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 going this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So shortcut way to do this is what do we keep doing? We keep taking the square root of each leg squared added together. And that's going to give me the length of PQ. So shortcut to do that is just to say, all right, that's 64 plus 81, square root of 145 equals PQ. This would be the exact answer they're looking for. And approximate value, if I do that, and I round it out, square root of 145 is 12.04. Oh, it does say round to the nearest tenth, so that means 12.0. Okay, that's pretty much it. So you're just looking for the legs and you're adding them together. Now, what if someone takes your graph away? So at the bottom of the page, this is just kind of a little explanation of what we're really doing. When you count the squares from here to here, you're just subtracting the y's. So this is like your a squared, the subtraction of the y's. or your b squared, I'll write it because it's like that. And when you're going this way from here to here, you're just basically subtracting the x's. When you count your blocks, you're subtracting like 8 minus 1, 7, okay? And if you did this way, it would be going from 0 to 9 is that way. It's the same idea. But if you don't have a graph, you can just subtract the coordinates they give you, which I'm going to show you on the next page. It's easier if I just show you. So go over to page 28. And when you look at page 28, it'll say, okay, here's a triangle. Wants us to know the length of each side. Okay, so down here, what I do is I say, okay, pretending I don't have a grid, but I do, I want to find the length from A to B. So A to B would be this one right here. So if I'm looking at A to B, the coordinates of A are 0, 5, and the coordinates of B are 7, 1. So let's say I don't want to look at my graph, and I just want to do this by knowing the coordinates, okay? All the formula says you do is subtract the x's. So my x's are 0 minus 7. And you can do this forwards or backwards. It says x2 minus x1. This would be y1, x2, y2. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. So if you want to do it this way, 5 minus 1 squared. 0 minus 7 is a negative 7, and 5 minus 1 is a 4. Now, the big deal is you got to put that in parentheses. What's going to happen if you don't is, we talked about this earlier, you want to square the negative 2. If you don't put it in the parentheses, you're going to forget. So when you put it in your calculator, do it that way. By the time you reach here, you shouldn't have a negative number anymore, okay? Because we can't have negative length. Just think about it like that. You can't have a negative length. So when you do that together, then you add these together, your answer is the square root of 65. We're going to leave it as an exact answer and not worry about simplifying it yet, okay? Because it doesn't ask. Let's do the next one. Let's say it says to find B to C. All right, so I want to find back up here from B to C. So I write down B's coordinates, which are 7, 1. We already knew that. I write down C's coordinates, which are 4, negative 2. I write them next to each other. Over the top, label them x1, y1, x2, y2. All right, and again, you just start setting up a giant square root symbol, and you just show your work. So you go like this. You say 7 minus 4 squared plus, now this is the hard part, 1 minus negative 2. Don't forget about the negative 2 squared. Giant square root, a little less giant. 7 minus 4 is 3. Okay, 1 minus negative 2 becomes 1 plus 2. Don't forget that. So under here, you're also going to get another 3 squared. And you're going to keep simplifying. 9 plus 9. And finally, it's the square root of 18. All right, so that's how long this side is. And then we do it one more time. I want to do this side from A to C. I'm going to write down A's coordinates, which are 0, 5. I'm going to write down C's coordinates, which are 4, negative 2. And I'm just going to start x1, y1, x2, y2. And I'm going to set up a giant square root and start subtracting. 0 minus 4 squared plus 5 minus negative 2 squared. So giant square root, 0 minus 4 is negative 4, but I'm going to put that in parentheses so I don't forget that the square root's going to disappear. 5 minus negative 2 becomes 5 plus 2, which is 7 squared. Don't forget about that. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16 plus 49. Hey, that's almost the same as the first one, so I know that's 65. So based on that, you got 65, 65, and 18. Square root of 65, square root of 65, square root of 18 are that. Based on the sides, well, 2 of the sides are the same. What type of triangle is that? Take a chance to think. 3, 2, 1. It's isosceles. 2 sides the same. And that is the distance formula. So you're going to, on your homework, practice doing the distance formula for each of these. And on page 30, kind of doing it for that triangle too. Now, if you have a picture and you don't want to use the distance formula, great. Connect it and draw your grid right there to there. All right. And then make your right triangle. That's easier. Then you can do that. And you can just do, basically you're doing a squared plus b squared under the square root would be pq squared. And then you can go from there. But if you don't have the picture, you got to remember to do x1, y1, x2, y2, and use the formula. Okay. All right. Good luck. Talk to you tomorrow soon, hopefully.